Welcome back to Opa Podcast, episode 65. We are back to recap game one versus Nebraska and preview game two versus Eastern Michigan. But to start off, I'm one of your hosts, Jason O, joined with Soup
What up?
and Wyatt
Yeah, not me.
after missing last podcast. But today we are short one, which is Griffin Most. He's currently out in Hawaii. His he decided to chime into the chat while we're recording this. So we're chewing him out for chatting, and he should be enjoying his time in Hawaii. But to go from there, since Griffin is not here, he did provide us about 5 to 6 minutes of his unaltered audio about how the game went on Thursday with Nebraska. So we would take a quick listen to that and then go from there. But from here, Wyatt, myself, and Super will tune out while you guys let Griffin take the floor for the next few minutes.
All right, so some thoughts on the Gophers versus Nebraska football game last Saturday. Overall, always happy with a win. However, I'm not happy with how we got the win. I want to give full credit to Rule for preparing his guys well in game one of a new regime. But as a seventh-year coach in Fleck, we would expect a higher level of play, or I would, especially for the experience on the roster. Now that Rule is heading Nebraska, it is very evident that this will be a more competitive rivalry in the coming years. As far as the Gopher offense, I was very disappointed that we never really put several solid drives together. Given Athan, I would say, had relatively good protection most of the night. One of our best drives was taken away to an underthrown ball by Athan and the DB jumping the route. Not to mention that we really had no balance with our running and passing game. They never were complementing each other at any time. Our Sean Tyler had 41 yards, and that's just not acceptable in Big Ten football, especially in the offense that we want to run. We were so pass heavy, didn't help move the ball consistently down the field, albeit we did have some flashes of brilliance from our receivers. Crooms running in the slot. Deep ball didn't really have any. And then Daniel Jackson, obviously, with the toe tap. Even Elijah Spencer getting some love. But once Crab is back and the kinks are worked out between the receivers and QB, I think we will be a very hard wide receiving core to stop. Crooms looks comfortable, and he will still be my dark horse player for the rest of the year for this team. We know Daniel Jackson is him, and looking forward to see how Crab can help mentor these people and what else Elijah Spencer can bring to the table. And while our offense was still lacking in some areas, our defense was still putting up the showing that we had near the end of last year. Our defense kept us in this game the whole time. They bailed us out several times throughout the game, which is exactly what we expected, and we weren't disappointed in their showing. We won the turnover battle, and that ultimately won us the game in the end. I see Tyler Newbin being a very high, not very, or a higher pick in the draft this year. He'll continue to have high PFF rankings, but I'm still uneasy on our defense with kind of the front seven. We have our D lineman, which got a little bit of pressure, but linebacking core, once we get Cody Lindenberg back, I think that was huge. He's good for the brains on our defense. But just with our D line, making sure we can have QB contain, that seems to still be an issue for us. We are thankful that Jeff Sims is kind of one dimensional in that aspect. Couldn't hardly throw an accurate pass more than 10 yards down the field, except for the touchdown. But Rule should know that while he might like him and Sims might be great in whatever he sees in him, especially for that style of offense, that doesn't necessarily work in the Big Ten. And if you can't pass and you can't complement with the run game, it's really over. As far as our running back room, I am way more worried than I was before the week one game. If this is really a preview of how our running back room will look this year, we are going to have a very hard time winning 8 games. That is simply too much pressure on Ethan and our passing offense. It looks obvious, at least, that Sean Tyler will be our RB1 unless someone else steps up in that room. And I really hope they do. I want someone to just unleash the beast that's inside of them. We need a run game for our passing game. His best run of the night was really that 12-yard gain to set up Kesich, I believe, for that game-winning field goal. And while it was clutch, that's kind of the end of the game, and it wasn't consistently helping us sustain any drives.
I know I kind of mentioned it before that I was kind of worried about our front seven, but I think I'm oddly, or at least cautiously optimistic for our D line this year in those front 3 or 4. Getting 3 sacks is really better than I expected, but we need to continue having our big players make big plays. Jai Joyner will obviously be the stud on that defensive line, and we need him to keep proving that week in and week out. I just really want to see us help solve our QB contain issue because I am not ever going to be worried about our pass defense, but I want to make sure that when a quarterback scrambles out of the pocket, we can control.
One of my last things here is just to reiterate that I was very happy with how Trayvon Jones played. I thought it was very encouraging to see him do so well, but I don't want that to get into his head either. I think he'll be a key part of our defense, complementing Wally and Newbin. So, best wishes to him, and we'll see how that plays out the rest of the year.
Post Nebraska. So I'll just start off with you, Soup. What is your thoughts post game? Did we lose him again?
I'm here.
There he is.
I'm here. Oh, I
Yep.
can't get a moment to ponder.
No, you had all of Griffin's time to ponder.
That's true. For all you Griff heads who are still here, I guess my main note is that when it came down to it, they did figure out a way to win, and I think that is really what the takeaway from the first game of the season is that they found a way to win.
I think for me, it was PJ said it best, but even when we were down, I think we were down 7 to tie the game. Like the defense knew what they had to do, the offense knew what they had to do, but also they looked calm and poised, like they weren't in a panicky situation. Like I know, like maybe that middle part of the game, like between the second and third quarter, Ethan looked a little flustered, but then he got his act together and looked very, very good for the rest of the game. So that's what I saw, was that the team wasn't panicking. We're not hitting the panic button just yet. Defense kept us in the game. Offense kept doing what they know how to do best, I think, and then in the end got us, that touchdown. I know Griffin mentioned it. Some Nebraska fans still pissed off that Ariante Ursi still technically had a full start. But hey, if they missed that, they missed some other egregious calls throughout the game on Minnesota.
The refs
too.
were not good.
Yeah.
They were not good.
So
nobody benefited. All of us actually lose when the refs are bad.
Yeah. But other than that, I thought the team looked poised, no matter if we were down at that point 7 and then won the game with the game-winning field goal. So I thought we looked very, very poised and looked the part a bit. What about you, Wyatt?
I mean, listen, I'm the eternal pessimist on this podcast now that Laurens is not here regularly. But today I'm gonna let Griff take that job. Because Griff had a lot of negative to say about that first game, but I'm gonna remind our fan base that's game 1. And that's just the way the Gophers kind of play in game 1 every year. We always get out to a sluggish start, And
Week 1 is always weird.
week
Like,
one,
across the league.
what did we beat? We played like South Dakota State a couple years ago and beat them by 7 or something.
Yeah, wasn't that like one-handed
Rashad Bateman.
Rashad Bateman catching the end zone?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we needed last second heroics to win that game too. So like, this isn't a South Dakota State team. Let's
Didn't-
be very clear about what we've got here. We
Didn't
just
Duke
played a Big Ten
beat
team.
Clemson? Didn't Duke just beat Clemson, right?
Duke spanked Clemson.
They did.
It was 28-7.
Yeah, honestly, like I saw this tweet that I got this tweet by a couple of my friends that said Clemson didn't score or punt in the second half, and the first thing that I thought was like they should be like in the Big Ten West, like automatically, just by that happening to them.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But a lot of a lot of unexpected things happened this week in college football. The Pac-12 is currently undefeated.
True.
Not a single Pac-12 team has lost yet. Colorado beat TCU even though no one knew what Prime was going to be
That's fun.
in Colorado.
I like that.
And we can get to that in more specifics later, but like week 1 is weird. The Gophers always play weird in week 1, and this time we played a Big Ten opponent in week 1, and we played a close game against them. That's way better than playing, a group of 5 team or worse, an FCS team in week 1, and playing that 3 to 7 point game against them.
It's also a great experience for a team who everybody's knock against them has been that they don't have as much experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's some things to look back at this game on and say, hey, yeah, we can improve this. But we've got a lot of youth on our offense outside of, the Chris Ottman-Bell and the Brevin Spanford, and I'm sure there's someone still on our offensive line.
Well, the offensive line, they want to be old, right? Like, you need big guys.
You want older guys, you want bigger guys, but like
they're deep at the skill positions though with young talent.
Yeah, there's a lot of young talent everywhere on this roster, and they're talented, but they're also young, and there's going to be some growing pains.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to learn about Greg Harbaugh being the play caller. Like, to get that confirmed was nice. Like, I think you could tell by watching the game that it wasn't Matt Simon, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, stylistically, it was a very different offense overall being called. Like, the one thing I've noticed, I'm not sure you guys saw it too. I know for you, Soup, you were at the game where you were in the corner of the stadium. But I was very surprised the amount of motion for the tight ends, especially with Callerup and Brevin. Either we're running 12 man, or like we're running all the tight ends on one side, like either the right or left side of the line, and just being heavy, ready for the run. So like I thought that was very unique and not much that we did.
I think that was also because they had a lot of trouble blocking at times.
True.
They were. Yeah. I think the tackles were good. But I think overall the line was just like not consistent, and especially like the guard play, the center play, like I thought needed to be better. And it was just a little too east-west to me. It didn't feel like we were really attacking downfield that much, and I would like to see them let Ethan kind of push the ball. But I think that's by design. It's week 1. You're trying to get them easy completions, right?
And this is a new style of football for Minnesota, where we're throwing the ball as much as we are.
I don't think we're going to be throwing it like this.
I don't think we're going to throw it 40 times a game all season long.
I think like 25 to 30 is kind of where you're going to be.
We're going to be throwing the ball more than we did with Tanner Morgan.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I liked the under center stuff. The under center play action stuff I really liked. I think they're good at that.
And like we've got to, accept that we don't have, Mo Ibrahim anymore. That's just that's not this team doesn't have maybe the best power running back in the Big Ten.
I would love to see an outside zone, maybe.
So, you've got to give this young stable of running backs some time to grow. You've got to give Athan some time to come into his own.
Well, Sean
I know.
Tyler is like an older transfer. Like,
Oh, Sean Tyler older?
yeah.
Yeah. I think he has
So,
1 or
like,
2 years eligibility after.
to me, it was just, I didn't understand why they were using him in that way. I was like, can we get this man some toss? Can we get this man some, like, outside power? Like, please? Like,
Yeah.
they were running the entire offense east-west. Like, the whole passing game was, like, all these east-west concepts, which is, like, fine. Those are good. But then the running game was all north-south, and it was like, that's not what this guy does, though. Like, I feel like we're going about this in the wrong way. And then once they started running, like, the play action, like, deep post, like, stuff game like that, they were having some success doing that stuff. And then, like, your tight end's hiding underneath for 8 yards if it's not there. Like, it turns into 15 because Brevin's an animal. And then, like, I was like, yes, do that. That's fun. Do that.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like there's a lot. Griffin said it best, obviously, in his rant, but I think the offense, we all agree, it can be better. They're capable of being better. I just think maybe, again, it's game 1, week 1 of the season. I think they're trying to see like what Harbaugh and Simon put up on paper and see how it does on the field against, in this
Yeah.
case, a 3-3-5 defense.
I mean, I think they got pushed around like in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They usually beat
Yeah.
Nebraska by having better trench play than them every year.
Definitely.
But this year, I do not think that was the case. Like, we had some missed tackles from some young linebackers. I mean, Cody Lindenberg, I think, really allowed Jeff Sims to run like a lot more than he probably would have if had Lindenberg been healthy. But like at the same time, we're complaining about a defense that had 4 turnovers and gave up 10 points. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I will say this. Like, for me, I think I'll go into some of my notes here. Like, I thought I marked them as elite, and then the rest was just change your best. Like, if you're using like PJ's for
Sure.
vocabulary, I thought first off, the fans. Like, obviously we all know Nebraska travels well. One of my coworkers is a big Nebraska fan. He says it, and it's so true. They travel well, but like the sold out, gold out, there was a lot of gold in those seats and bleachers that Thursday night. So great game atmosphere overall. I thought defense played hard. Like you mentioned,
It
this
looked
too.
like it probably looked awesome on TV.
Yeah, it did. Defense, like, like, I think at this point we're nitpicking what the defense missed. Obviously, like, they let Jeff Sims run all over him, but like, if you think of hindsight, we got 3 interceptions off Jeff Sims because he couldn't really throw. We punched the ball out of Anthony Grant's hands to get the fumble by Justin Wally. So like 4 turnovers isn't something we should scoff at. Like, they did a very great job. Tyler did a great job reading the
Clutch
eyes.
turnovers too.
Yeah, reading the eyes of Jeff Sims. So I thought defense played great, and even though it was trial by fire for like our linebackers like Baranowski, and I forgot who the other guys were that stepped in. While it was trial by fire, Baranowski like got better and better throughout the game. Like, he's like, okay, I messed that up the last play. Let's let's strip it down and get better at it. And he got better throughout the game. And I thought like, hey, this guy has talent and can get pressure. And, like, he's kind of gonna be like maybe what I thought was like, Mariano with Cody Lindenberg, like, 2 leaders on the defense and talented guys. I thought maybe we could see that in the future. So at this point, like, we're nitpicking on what our defense can be. Like, again, like, that's how good they've been the last few seasons under Jeff Rossi, that like we're just nitpicking any little stupid thing on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, those turnovers they get are so clutch too. Like, the first interception comes with 7 seconds left in the second quarter. It's a 3-0 game at this point, which is gross, but at least you're winning. And he throws a pick on second down, right? Like, that's a field goal. That should be an easy 3-3 game. And then they come out with the lead. They score a touchdown. It's 10-3, right?
And it wasn't by Tyler. It was Trayvon, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, our transfer.
Trayvon Jones. So, hype. So that's a huge interception, right? And then the last one comes you know, you get a fumble, you score a touchdown in 2 minutes, you then get another pick in like less than 2 minutes, right? Like they did such a great job of being timely with these impact plays on defense. And then the offense did cash in when it mattered. It's like the one thing I keep going back to, I guess,
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah. I think there's an element of clutch that we saw in this game that we haven't seen a whole lot of in the time we've been doing this podcast.
Yeah,
And
like Ethan, like, he didn't have the best game. I know there's probably throws out there that he would like back, but like I think overall he did like a pretty good job with what was in front of them. I think the blocking was not too great at times, both pass blocking and run blocking. Basically, like the inside of the interior of the offensive line, I think was like a huge problem. But he never lost his poise. Like he was never phased by any of it. So
And actually, I do want to pick on one last thing from PJ's end. I know our podcast in particular always bitched about PJ's time management and timeouts, but my God,
pretty good.
the management at the end of the game, like by taking the 10-second runoff for the penalty, I believe what happened, the false
Yes.
start,
Yeah.
dropped it from 27 to 17 seconds. Call it a running play, allowing Sean Tyler to run up, like Griffin mentioned, 12 yards down the middle,
Huge run.
which was huge. Got us closer to making essentially now a 46 to 47-yard field goal for Dragon Kesic rather than being 50 plus yards, because he did miss.
That's a big league field goal too.
Yeah, and Dragon obviously missed the 53 4-yarder earlier, but like again, he has the big leg, he can hit it, or has the leg for it. So by calling that and then taking the timeout,
that 54 yarder was not short.
it was not short.
it
Yeah,
was not short, it was just a hair left. And I think he just didn't pull his leg through enough.
First
on
50
that
yarder
one.
of the season, close enough. Whatever.
yeah,
He nailed the 47 yarder that counted.
yeah,
Yeah, no, like you can't for once I don't have a complaint about the special teams.
Oh,
I
hold
do.
up,
I
hold
still
up, hold
do.
up, Wyatt. Okay, so back to let's wrap up on the time management. Like PJ called that last time out perfectly on the 3-second mark. Because honestly, we've seen PJ take timeouts if like the defense is not set or the offense is not set, right?
Yeah, there were no like weird ones in either half. Like he usually gets one weird one in the first half.
Yeah. So like kudos, like 2 thumbs up elite for PJ on like actually proper time management and actually looked better. But then again, is this game one? We'll see how the rest of the season goes. We knowing him, he might still call it, but like I'll take that as a win on how that went and essentially set up the game winner. But
I think we all have to like kind of remember that this is a conference game to start the season. So you're seeing who they really are. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing who they really are. And I think some of that timeout usage is usually against like non-conference opponents when they're just like not playing well and PJ's like, "Yo, wake up," like let's go.
for sure. But then well, let's go. I want to hit the special teams because we have Super Knight has some of the stuff to say, but Wyatt obviously you probably have some stuff too. But
I'm
first off,
very happy with my kicker.
yeah, Dragon,
That's fine. I agree.
big
Mark
leg.
Crawford, kudos to you. I don't know what happened, but I'll take
Mark
it.
Crawford averaging 6 more yards a punt. Good job putting the foot to the ball, my guy.
From last season, yeah. Like he's middle of the pack, and I'll take that for a punter. But no, let's get into the more of the special teams because I'm getting way ahead of myself, but the Eagles from Eastern Michigan have a really good special teams unit. And
yeah.
looking at ours, let's just talk about the return that Nebraska had. Was that on kickoff or punt?
The coverage on
Yeah.
both units is just bad.
Yeah.
Like Quentin Redding can't really do anything, and I for sure thought they were going to fair catch a couple kickoffs, but I guess like kudos to them for trying because that's always what we've asked for from them, right? Is that they try, but like I think they've swung a little too far the other way, and I think overall it's just like I think the return game will be better if the coverage gets better. The coverage was just like it was really bad Like the roughing the punter call or whatever, like that's running into the punter. That's not roughing, but whatever. But that still can't happen. Like you can't put yourself in that situation. So
And knowing PJ, he probably chewed out the special teams unit on Monday,
yeah, like
Sunday.
it was just not good. And like your kickers were clutch, and that's super nice and that's great. But like you're still getting nothing from the return game. It's just in a different way.
I think Quinton Redding never got past the 20-yard line the entire night.
No,
for
I
the
was
kickoff.
shocked they didn't fair catch like a couple of the last ones, but I guess they were just fishing for a big play all game because they couldn't get anything going on offense, right?
Mm-hmm. I think they were trying to pull off what they did in Syracuse, where we actually had good return game in the bowl, but like obviously, I don't think
Yeah,
the coverage
they're
like
just trying to sniff out that one big play to get them going.
yeah. And then obviously that return that again as part of the coverage, that huge return that set up Nebraska in the red zone. And obviously that the one touchdown the defense let was a broken busted play, which because like it was a I'm trying to remember. So the Sims handed off to the running back. The running back
They like
tossed it.
run like a reverse flea flicker basically, and he drops the ball.
And still scores it to Bullock in the end zone.
I heard from Ryan Burns. I heard he said that like somebody thought the ball was like incomplete, 'cause
Out
he
of
saw it on
play,
the ground
yeah.
and out of play because he was like, oh, it's a pass, it's on the ground, but couldn't see from that angle, that it's a backwards pass.
Yeah.
And
Which
then he
was
just
still a
like,
legal ball, like a live ball.
yeah, it's like he's trying to get back to the huddle, and then he sees the quarterback pick the ball up, and it clicks, and he just can't get back. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
That sounds like week 1 to me.
For sure.
That's
But-
the only touchdown they scored, you guys. Like that was it. They did jack the rest of the game.
That is correct. Was there anything else on special teams that I was irked by the entire night?
No, I think we're just sick of like this return game being so bad for no reason.
Yeah. Going on from there, I do want to chime in some notes. My coworker, his name is Trevor, Nebraska fan at heart.
What's up, Trevor?
He did had this to say because I asked him like, "Hey, what are your overall thoughts after the game?" He said this. He thinks that the country thinks that both Nebraska and Minnesota are trash teams, but he differs that in reality, both teams played hard, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like Nebraska came to play and was physical all night.
Oh yeah.
And he does admit that yes, both teams do have their holes, but he thinks Nebraska can get better under Matt Rule, and he's hoping for hopefully a fun game, maybe a win next week when they play at Colorado.
I think they've got something going on defense there for sure.
Yeah. So I told Trevor like, hey, I wholeheartedly agreed. Like it was a very physical game, and I think it's too early to react. Obviously, we're as fans, we're pissed off on how our teams perform, but it's week 1. We'll see how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, nobody really feels good about this one. Like it feels good to win in the way that you did, just because like there's a lot of Gophers teams that don't make this comeback. And I think that's something.
Yeah.
That's important. That like there's a lot of teams that like don't make this comeback. Like, and they did it with like a young quarterback and a different core of players than we're used to, and that's like really fun.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to make note of this, and I'm just going to rub it in Trevor's face sometimes at work just to lightly jab him, but the Gophers still are now in a 5-game win streak over the Cornhuskers, and also continues the overall team's losing streak of losing 1-score games. So we'll leave it at that. It's a light jab. So moving on, let's head into previewing our opponent, guys. So going to game 2 this upcoming Saturday the 9th at 6:30 p.m. kickoff at Huntington Bank Stadium. So Soup, you're going to be there for sure, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Wyatt?
I will not be there.
I will be.
But I will be watching.
I'll be watching because I am flying out the next day.
Give me the Chrome numbers. Give me the Chrome numbers.
Alrighty. So first off, it's going to be airing on Big Ten Network for the TV broadcast, and then Gopher Radio team from last game, same from KFAN. So here's the numbers. ESPN's FPI has Minnesota winning 94.1% to the Eagles 5.9. Odds as of yesterday when I did my notes, looking at minus 19.5 to minus 20.5, depending on the sports book and Vegas odds. Over under being at 47.5 to 47. So they're giving us a 3-score win, according to Vegas. But here's some notes about our opponents coming up. So the Eagles won their game one win last week, or they won their first game in week 1 last week against Howard, winning 33 to 23, going 1-0 in their overall record as well. They're head coached by Chris Crean, who's been there for some time already in the MAC. Their offense is led by quarterback Austin Smith, who was 19 of 28, 175 yards passing, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Running back, their leader is Samson Evans with 16 carries and 52 yards in a tutty last game. And then wide receiver is Tanner New at 8 receptions, 73 yards and 1 touchdown. So that's on the offensive side. Defense led by Joe Sparcio, who led the team in total tackles, I think at 10 or 11. And then special teams, their kicker, Kenyon Boyer, was 1 for 1 on field goals, was a 25-yarder, and was 4 for 4 for extra points. Do note their special teams scored, I believe, 2 special teams touchdowns, or was it 1? And got a safety, or 2, and then got a safety on Howard's punt team.
They had a 53, or what was that? They had like a 90. Was a 96-yard return
on the kick, and then they had a good punt return because when they got the safety, they still had to punt the ball, and they returned that for a touchdown.
They had 2 special teams touchdowns
and a safety. So they gave their football team alone, like on special teams. So we're just doing 16. The math, like 16 points. Yeah. But here's some notes that I thought I had. Maybe Howard's special teams was just that bad.
I don't know.
But
lightning doesn't strike twice, right?
Yeah, and I do want to note this as well. They scored.
Also doesn't matter.
Yeah, but they also scored the first 30 points in the first half. So the Eagles were scoreless in the second half up until the fourth quarter, because the game was close, 23 to 30. So Howard was only down by 1 score. And in the end, the Eagles got the field goal to make it a 33-23 victory. So I thought Howard got better, or was better this second quarter and then into the second half, but that didn't come through. But yeah, that's pretty much it from the recap regarding the Eagles here, and then obviously their win as the only sample size that we got from last week. But you guys have any things to make note of with this opponent when we go play them on Saturday?
I'm hoping for another big JLR Jaw Joiner night, because they're going to be running a lot of the same like triple option stuff that like Nebraska was.
What were you, Wyatt?
Sorry, what was the question?
What do you expect or think about coming up here with this game against Eastern Michigan?
Oh, I mean, it's a MAC team. I'm not expecting it to be a super exciting game.
Yeah, I think the Gophers are going to have to put up some points, though.
They're going to have to put up some points, and, I think it's going to be higher scoring, which makes for potentially more excitement than the Nebraska game. But, I'd like them to score early and put it to bed early.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I guess I would just like to see, like, something different. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to see that they're, like, learning week to week instead of just like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what we're doing,
I agree.
So hopefully no vanilla offense this Saturday.
That's also part of why I say, like, score early, put it to bed early. Because then if you've got that comfortable lead, you have more time to go out there and try some stuff. with an offense that's, learning and growing.
Well, yeah, then you can figure out your running back room, right? But like,
Yeah,
I think
that
they're in
gives you
flux
an
right now.
opportunity to try everybody in the running back room. And so just like, I think they can do it, but we've also lost to MAC teams before. So, like,
A la Bowling Green.
yeah, the Bowling Green one is the one that sticks with me. Gives me nightmares.
Still gives me nightmares, dude. I don't know. I think for me, obviously get better, but I think this is the game for me where I think for on the offensive side, I want Ethan to have a better game, like so actually throwing to like a in the spot where the receivers can make a play rather than
Yeah,
underthrowing him.
I think based just on last game, they're gonna let him go. I think we've established that.
Yeah, let him loose. But also, I want, like as you mentioned, Wyatt and Soup, more of the running backs. I think the last game, I saw on the broadcast a lot of Sean Tyler, as we expected. He is the veteran transfer coming in, but also I was surprised that we saw a lot of Bryce Williams rotating out with him, and I
I
believe
think that's because he's your best pass blocker.
yeah. And then I think there was a third one, but like I didn't really see Zach Evans, who I know Griffin is high on, and the other younger
I
backs.
just think they had no success running the ball that they put in their best pass blocker.
Honestly, yeah, especially with how the interior offensive line went. So, yeah, for me, just get right game, like you guys think, but also I'm expecting another game on the defensive side though to, with that veteran secondary and actually better than expected defensive line to have a good game on the defensive side as well. However, I am very suspect of the punt and kick coverage, so I am not too optimistic on the special teams to. I'm expecting special teams to allow a touchdown this game.
I don't think they'll. I think you'll see them kick away from the returners.
Okay. We'll see what
I
happens.
think you'll see that like rugby style kick that you saw, where they like kick it away and like hope it rolls.
True. But
hey, listen, we got 6 extra yards average for Mark Crawford. Let's give him a chance to show us what he can actually do.
True. But going on from
I'm not
there,
saying it can't happen. I'm just
Well, bad things can certainly happen. I just think we should complain about them after.
True, very, very true. But again, I'm just, still salty. That's the best way to describe it. But going on from there, let's get into predictions. So I'll go first, and then we'll go down the line. So Wyatt and then Soup. So preseason, I said W. I'm still going to stick with that, but I say we're going to win 27-10. We're only going to allow 3 points on offense, but that touchdown's going to be from special teams.
I like that prediction a lot.
Because I don't think we're going. We're not going to cover the spread. I'm just going to say that. Like.
Oh no, 19.5 is a lot of points.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a little more conservative, a 24-10 win. I mean I think this Gopher team is fully capable of handling Eastern Michigan. I think there's still going to be some growing pains. There's still going to be the offense is going to be trying to figure out how to click. The defense looked
like mid-season
good.
form.
I'm pretty comfortable with the defense, with where the defense was at week 1. But while the offense is getting clicking, I'm gonna stay conservative on these predictions.
All right, Sue. What about you?
I'm gonna go 28-13. I think.
All right.
Gophers, obviously.
All right.
Defensive touchdown. Give me a defensive touchdown.
Tyler Nubin or Justin Wally
would
touchdown?
Be super cool.
Okay, so who do you think would have that defensive touchdown?
Give me Justin Wally.
I would take Justin
Ooh,
Wally
I'll take
as
that.
well.
Give me Justin Wally jumps like a RPO slant and just they never see him.
But also, I wouldn't mind a Tyler Newman one too, though.
Newman would
If
be
he didn't
fun, but that's
if he
not
didn't
really his.
stumble on the receiver, I think he would have had
Yeah.
one. Based on where I was sitting, yeah, I saw it the whole way. I saw him stick his foot in the ground. It got like, it gets really quiet when the ball goes up in the stadium. So I saw him like dig his foot in, and I heard the whole stadium go quiet, and I was just like, "Oh, give me that, yes."
And then, besides that, I do want to note a fun fact. Griffin, per his messages to us, he said he'll shotgun 4 beers if Tyler Newman got 2 picks this last game. And on, what was it, Sunday morning, he honored that request. And
Yep, the Snapchats came through. I watched them while I was at the
Yep.
fair.
so
Saw those too.
That's what I did while I waited in line. I waited for those to load.
So shout out to Griffin, who said he didn't feel well afterwards. But I do want to mention that note because what a trooper, Griffin. Even though we're getting older and our bodies can't process shit like it used to. So
Legends never die.
legends don't die.
Legends never die.
But going on from there, that wraps the preview for Eastern Michigan. Going on from there, again, week 1 happened last week. A lot of things happened. Where do we want to start, guys? Because like it was a fun weekend of football last week.
Let me just pull up the NCAA football top 25 results.
Did they update it
Oh.
already?
Well,
I haven't looked at the rankings, but
prime time happened.
primetime did happen.
Shadur Sanders, his son, had like what, 500 yards,
Yeah.
4 tutties.
It was like
program
520
record.
and 4, which are both program records.
Yeah.
Yep. And like the game is so hyped that like I'm seeing like the media people are like, could he be like a first round pick? And like Vikings fans like, oh, what happened? He's our quarterback, guys. It's game 1. It's still too early for this.
I know. Everybody, we just need we all just also need the NFL to start.
Yeah.
Well, also, hold on here. I think that this is a kid who is starting to actually, make a name for himself. He's
No,
been
yeah.
playing at.
I just don't know why people are surprised. That's all.
Yeah, no, he was a good quarterback, and now he's at a Power 5 school, and he's still a good quarterback.
Mhm.
He's going to be one of the people that people are looking at when his time to hit the draft comes along.
Yeah.
And he shows some promise. He shows a good deal of promise, but
you don't. We can't just talk about Travis Hunter because like you gotta realize that offense was like humming. Because let's just start off. The guy that caught my attention was Travis Hunter, who I believed, you guys can correct me, he played both sides of the ball.
He played
that game.
117 snaps, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is more than any wide receiver or cornerback in the entire NCAA has played all of last season.
And he was balling that game too. Like not only taking on all those snaps on either side of the ball, was actually doing well on the being in the secondary and being in the receiver core. Like, damn, like this guy is talented. And I know, I think it was Pat McAfee's show, I think yesterday, where he had Dion on for his podcast for the Pat McAfee show. And damn, like Dion really likes this guy. Prime really likes him. So very excited what we can see from Travis Hunter in the next few games here for the season. But
I mean, if
damn,
he can do that, that's like video game shit.
I know.
Yeah. Yep. Looking at the
But
games
that's fun.
for games worth talking about here.
Duke Clemson, we touched on briefly.
Duke Clemson, big deal.
I missed that game, but holy hell, Clemson, lost to Duke.
I mean, I think it says a lot about like Dabo is not like a transfer portal or NIL guy, and I think it's he's starting to catch up. Like I don't know.
Yeah. And you look, I was looking at some of what Dabo was saying after the game, and he was just talking about how weird of a game it was for him. and I think he just hasn't. I don't know if Dabo Sweeney's gonna make it in the modern NCAA where money is a huge deal.
For players.
Yeah,
Yep.
Specifically,
and
that is
conferences
his
are gonna
whole
shift.
problem. Yeah.
I was watching.
He hates the players getting paid. He's always been public about that.
True. Like he wasn't the support of NIL ever, and
I think it's showing.
Yeah.
I think it shows the landscape is changing.
definitely. I will also want to note this. I was watching the Purdue and Fresno State game. Purdue lost.
I was gonna say, how are our friends at Fresno State still frisky?
They're still frisky. I think Jeff Tefford is still there as head coach too.
Nice.
So, yeah, Fresno State beat Purdue. Rough game. I think Purdue was on their like third, fourth, fifth center on the O line.
That's tough.
Oof.
Like they took injuries throughout the game. Like
It's Ryan Walters, right?
I believe so. I don't remember.
The Illinois DC.
Yeah,
From last
he's now the head coach because Jeff Brom went to Kentucky and Louisville, and I think
Louisville.
Louisville also lost.
Yeah, I saw that.
But here nor there, Purdue had a rough game, and I was like, oh damn, it was a close game overall. It's just that I think it didn't go Purdue's way, and unfortunately injuries hit them hard too. So I'm curious what's going to happen from here. But yeah, Purdue lost. Ohio State did not dominate.
Hold on. I gotta correct you real quick. Louisville did beat Georgia Tech.
Oh, they did. Okay. Well,
It was 39. It was close. It was 39-34.
Oh, they were losing when I saw.
yeah, they were losing too.
Yeah,
Okay.
they bounced back and did win that game.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification, Wyatt.
I was just hoping, I guess.
Yeah.
Jeff Brom got a happy debut in.
Boo.
Boo. But outside of the other Big Ten games, so Indiana played Ohio State to open Big Ten play in week 1. They lost, but
It's 10-3 for a little bit.
yeah, it
They
was close.
kept the Buckeyes struggled on offense.
So did Indiana.
Yep.
Indiana struggled on offense all game, to be fair. Eventually, Ohio State got to chugging a little bit, but it doesn't look like they're the Ohio State teams that we've gotten used to.
That is true. They're not the same Ohio State like dominating an Indiana team like that who is like not producing on offense and being ahead by 2-3 scores.
Yeah, it might be a very different year in the Big Ten if games are gonna look like this.
But then looking at him, so Michigan was without Jim Harbaugh. He is out for I believe 4 games, right, due to the NCAA suspension.
Michigan self-imposed a 3-game suspension, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Right before conference play opens up. That's when I'll be fine.
But they still like Michigan dominated. I think Michigan State also dominated. The Illini had a close game as well, against a non-conference opponent. And then
a MAC team to be clear.
Yep.
The Big Ten history with MAC teams is something.
Wisconsin won against Buffalo, who's coached by the Buffalo head coach was actually previously on PJ's staff, and I think 17. I was like wondering like, oh, he sounds and looks familiar. Oh wait, he was with the Gophers for a season. But
they got a little bit of a scary looking running back out there in Wisconsin, don't they?
They do. Like from what the broadcasters were shit, but like I can see it. Wisconsin can still run the damn ball, and like they're trying to do the air raid thing, like the hybrid air raid with power running, and I was like, oh, they're actually looking good there on offense. And defense
outside of the 2 picks that I'm seeing, but
yeah, outside of that, I didn't watch the Iowa game, but I heard Cade McNamara looked kind of good.
I mean, he's like a competent quarterback. They just don't understand.
Who's better than Spencer Petras?
Yeah, they just don't know what that looks like. They
Yeah.
still didn't score their 25 points or whatever.
Yep.
There's a tracker
That's-
going, I think, that's like, what's their average points per game?
How far behind the mark are they?
Yeah. God, I can't wait. Do you think Joe Rossi knows about that? You know. You know
they know. Like everyone knows at this point.
Yeah, he's got to like take us some small pride in like keeping it below that number for sure.
You're right. But other than that, not much else. Yeah, I only watch a handful of games because like of YouTube TV and stuff. I was restricted in terms of like the area and what was available. But overall, it was a pretty fun weekend. Got to see I watched the Colorado TCU game. It was a fun one to watch. Watched the Purdue and Fresno State one a bit towards the end, and same with Illini, and watched half of the Wisconsin game. But other than that, it was, college football is back, and coming up here, the NFL is back.
It is worth talking about maybe Florida State LSU,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, I missed that.
where
Right.
LSU got torched a little bit.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Sad Brian Kelly is so good.
Who's the head coach for FSU now?
God, who is the
I
head
don't know
coach
who
for
it is.
FSU?
I'm just glad it's not Jimbo. I hated liking Jimbo.
Hey, we can hate Jimbo and Bobby Petrino because they're now in A&M.
It's Mike Norvell.
Oh, it's Norvell? I thought he got fired. Okay, never mind.
No, I guess not.
I know Taggart got the boot before Norvell took over, but okay. Good to know.
Jared Ver's good at football.
Other than that, anything else?
The only other thing I can think about from this weekend of college football is the poor Oregon Duck.
Yeah. Bucky Irving going nuts though.
I was about
Bucky
to
Irving
say,
going nuts. I cry myself to sleep over it.
yeah,
Like
It's okay.
happy for that young man, but damn.
sad for the Gophers where
it'll
he
work
transferred.
out for the kid, but it's so
What
close.
could have been?
Yeah.
What a coulda, shoulda. But cool. Well, everyone who's listening or watching the podcast today, thank you so much. We'll wrap up episode 65 here with the recap of Nebraska and the preview for Eastern Michigan. Just a heads up for those watching and listening. Jason, one of your hosts and one of the producers for the podcast, will be traveling to Japan.
Of the producer for the podcast, the guy who does editing.
Yeah.
Listen, man,
Yeah.
don't sell yourself short here.
Yeah.
We all know.
Try to be humble, guys. I'm trying to be humble. But I will be traveling to Japan, so I'll be out of pocket for recapping Eastern Michigan, previewing North Carolina, and then the next game after that. So I asked one of our co-hosts, Soup, to take on that mantle for just 2 episodes. Just 2, 66 and 67. So I will be out.
Era has started. Rise, my brethren. Rise.
So Soup would take the torch on that with
It's not going to my head at all.
But as I'm out, Soup will take over on that side of things. So I will be absent for the 2 podcasts here. But again, it'll be a good time with Soup, Wyatt, and Griffin. And hopefully maybe Laurence will chime on.
If
Fingers
we could
crossed.
get Laurence, that'd be great.
It'll be a good time.
Be crazy.
But from there,
Return of the King.
for sure. But there's a quick some admin notes on that for upcoming podcast. So please bear with us as we tackle this, as I will be trying to upload the podcast while I'm away, while Soup is doing the recording and editing as we go. So please bear with us, but we plan to get our episodes out weekly, Monday, Tuesday in the coming weeks here. So please bear with us, but there's a quick notes on that. But again, thank you so much for listening and watching the podcast. But I'm one of your hosts, Jason O, joined with Soup. Say bye, Soup.
Bye.
And Wyatt.
Yeah, that's me.
And we'll see you guys next time. And
Oh,